Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We've been, I just heard since August, we haven't had an A-Check meeting. And we gave y'all some space, those folks online, because we was expecting y'all to be here. Y'all thought I was gonna let y'all up on not coming in person. Listen, we got some announcements coming on later on, and I'm gonna need y'all to make y'all way in person to see us. But for now, I just want to say good morning, everyone. Welcome to today, the only one, a good one. Let's make it a great one, October 22nd, 2025, to the A-Check meeting, Allen County Health Equity Coalition. As we enter into the space today, I want us to take a moment to respect the pause, and we're going to do an opening meditation. I want to call up my coworker, Miss Peggy, and she's going to do that for us.
Good morning, all. Good morning. We're going to take a moment to take a pause for the pause. So here we go. Heavenly Father, we just come before you just want to thank you, Lord God, for allowing us to be here today. Thank you for this wonderful day that you have let us wake up and see. Seasons are changing, things are happening. People are going all different kind of ways, and we just ask that you just lead us and guide us. We just want to be doing things that honor and praise you, and we ask that you be keeping our families, God, and help us to be doing what you want us to do. We have a lot of work to do. People are in such desperate need, God. So help us to use the gift that you've given us to help those in need, Father God. Let the break of you, it could be us, Father God. So just help us to be about all of you want us to be, Father God. And we'll just be sure to give you all the praise, honor, and glory, because we know, Father God, there's so much going on out there. People are so discombobulated and so out of commission and so decompartmentalized. And we just know that you bring us all together, Father God. So just help us to do what you want us to do. And we'll be sure to be giving you praise, honor, and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Peggy. It is definitely a call to practice for us to just pause, especially as the transition of all the things happening. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I was ready to pull up my coat this morning. It was cold. It is cold. And that's what it's going to continue to be, the change of the weather, as we enter into holiday season. We know that this time is sometimes harder for individuals. And so just recognizing that it's okay to just pause and take that breath. And so I want us to have a moment where we introduce everyone who is joining us today. So we'll start in the room and then we'll work our way online. We'll go to Jamie first.
Good morning, Jamie Yates, Director of Community Engagement for Bowen Health. Good to be here.
Colleen Carpenter with Action Over Silence and Veteran Suicide, our Veteran Suicide Initiative.
I'm Sharon Tubbs. I'm the Executive Director for Health Visions Midwest.
Laura Berger, Executive Assistant, Health Visions Midwest.
Good morning. I am Mia Hinton, Community Health Specialist for IUL.
Thank you, folks online. We will now turn to those, in the room. We'll now turn to those online. We want to come off mute and say hello.
I'm Jackie Martinez with the St. Joe Community Health Foundation.
Good morning, Pat Turner with Tobacco Free Allen County.
Good morning. My name is Esther with United Healthcare.
Good morning, Diane Starks, Urban Beginners Choice Federal Credit Union.
Melissa Martinez, Allen County Public Library.
Cassandra Rosine, Stillwater Hospice.
Good morning, Denise Knibler, IU School of Nursing.
Laurie Weinzapfel from United Healthcare.
Good morning, Sheila Curry Campbell, Pilgrim Baptist Church.
All right, I think that was everyone. Got an opportunity to say hello. And so we appreciate you all for joining us and being here. And so I want to take a moment to introduce who is doing our presentation this morning. So Irena Praxia works for the Foundation of Language Access, and that is understanding the need and the impact. And so this session, we will introduce the critical need for language access and its profound impact on the community, which is helping administrators understand this essential service And so we'll take time to explore demographic data and discuss the significant legal, ethical, and practical risk of neglecting it. The presentation will also highlight why trained interpreters are crucial for accuracy and positive outcomes, contrasting their competencies with the risk associated with using untrained family members and unqualified bilingual staff.
Tell me where to stand.
So you can sit, or stand, if you'd rather stand, you can
I have to
stand.
look at the camera. Okay.
Yeah, you look wherever.
All right,
They'll
friends,
catch
good
you.
morning. Thank you, Health Midwest, for kindly letting me join you this morning. That's very kind of you to give me space to share some of the information that we've been working on. As Cassie shared, I'm the executive director of the Language Access Lab, which is a new nonprofit in Fort Wayne. And we are really dedicated to creating more advocacy and awareness around language access. So we went to a plan B this morning because I originally had planned for more like an hour and a half presentation, but I'm condensing it into a quick overview of 25 minutes. So we'll just scratch the surface of language access, and I hope to be able to maybe come back for a longer conversation, or if you're interested in learning more, you know, I can come back to any of your organizations. Thank you. Oh, okay. And then I think we can start, Cassie's with the video. We'll try. That's the first challenge, just get it out of the way. So are we all, you think, good? We'll just start from the beginning. Oh, maybe I have to push play.
Doctor on that video. That's Tandora.
Excuse me, sir. I'm so sorry. She's been crying nonstop. She has a temperature of 105. I don't know what to do.
Maravidig. Vi paroles
No, please, just every time I feed her, she throws up. I don't know.
Vi paroles
I don't understand what you're saying. What are you saying? Can you just look at her? No, she's burning up. Just feel.
Fai paroles la anglan.
What?
She's
She's burning up. Feel her head.
Tranquilli kananche. The mother is Askan.
What is he doing?
Do you have?
My baby, she's got a temperature of 105. Every time I feed her, she throws up. Please, can you? She's burning up. Feel her head. Please, just feel her head. Feel her head. Just someone let me in to see the doctor. No, does anyone understand what I'm saying? Please, someone help me.
8% of U.S. citizens speak limited English. For these 25 million Americans, professional interpreters can mean the difference between life and death.
So I decided to show that video. I could have shown any one of our videos that we have access to. Let's see what I can do here. Slideshow. Oh, I have to sign in. And then, oh yes, it's me. Okay, we're having technical difficulties. Give me a moment. And need to move this. And here's. Okay. And we're on. Okay. There no scene. Is it the sharing on the screen is something I've done wrong? Here. Oh, okay. We're good. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. So like I said, this morning, I won't give a full trade. It's just a very short presentation. But I believe that in this community for a very, very, very long time, we have ignored the fact that there are entire segments of our population, our friends and neighbors that don't have equal access to services. There's entire entities, large and small, that are not equipped with language access. So instead of just being frustrated about it, after I had the opportunity to travel quite a bit with a national organization called Welcoming America, I decided to take that frustration into an opportunity for change. And what if Northeast Indiana could actually become a good story, a place where we could actually create good things that could be even scaled. So instead of just complaining about what we're not doing, let's do something about it. And that's the essence of why the Language Access Lab was really created. We have a series, so what I'm doing right now is I'm presenting just a very small overview of the first of three presentations that I give. And if you are online, I don't know if you can scan this QR code, but I'm sure you all understand grants. So we report on the number of people that we talk to and the QR code here, and there's 2 sheets. If you have the opportunity to sign in, it just helps me quite a bit with being able to track. So there's, okay, thank you. So when we do a series, the series of presentations are done for organizations. So usually what we're trained to do, what we are used to do is that we see interpreter training. And yes, we do that too. But what a problem has been, I think, is that we've trained bilingual individuals. We have these champions in the community, right? But then we don't train organizations. So what are the protocols? What are the best practices? So that is why we created this series. The first presentation is on the foundation of language access, which I'll give you just a brief overview today. The second one is on the main components of a language access plan. So if you are a language accessible organization, what are the things that you need to consider beyond hiring an interpreter? What does it look like for you? The third presentation is about working with professional interpreters. We asked interpreters who are trained, what do you wish organizations knew when you go for an assignment? And that's the information we're sharing. And also we present a pretty specific model, but so I will just give you kind of a taste of the first presentation, primarily key concepts. What is language access? There's an acronym. I don't know if you've ever heard of LEP. A lot of people use in this field, which is Limited English Proficient. And then we'll just touch briefly on why training matters. So our organization, again, we believe that everybody benefits, like everybody, you and I, everybody benefits when residents and people around us can access services regardless of the language they speak. And we believe also that children should not be able to interpret, particularly in very sensitive situations. So this happens all the time. And it's time to bring this to surface. So our theory of change is that by equipping both interpreters and organizations, we can create this shared language of language access. I kind of compare it to trauma-informed care, right? I remember when I was first trained on trauma-informed care. I actually remember who trained, but it doesn't really matter who trains you on language access. I don't even care that people remember that they talked to the language access lab today. I'm more concerned that language access becomes an issue that is addressed and that people think about. When you develop a new program, you ask yourself, how are we going to include language access, right? So over time, the idea is that from this awareness and activation, which we're creating now, that organizations become more organized. They create things like a committee of employees or, a network that creates a committee on language access when people can come together on a somewhat regular basis to discuss their challenges, their opportunities, what is happening that is working. And over time, we create what is called a community of practice. And so that's our model. I'm very excited that we're starting it here, and I'm having conversation already, even outside of Indiana, about this fairly frequently. So we have 3 programs. Interpreter training. For those of you here in person, you have a flyer on our signature interpreter training, which is the community interpreter, but we're licensed to provide multiple trainings, including the community interpreter, which is a training for those who are bilingual and work in social services, schools, healthcare, and government. I know for a fact that's needed too. And they receive an accredited training, nationally accredited, and after they complete it, they are eligible for a national certification program. They can take an exam for a national certification, so they become qualified. Our next training will be in March, I believe. So we're setting up, we haven't launched that for 26, but we held one in the spring of this year. We also are licensed to do multiple other trainings that I think you will see. I'm gonna have so much fun with this, with my team and the board. But we have things from language of justice, like what do you do if you're doing semi-legal interpreting, or language or interpreting for survivors of trauma. There's many different programs that we have access to. Organizational training is what I'm doing a little bit of today. Like I said, there's this presentation series. We also go into language access planning. We have access to a model called strategic doing. So we help organizations define what their vision is for language access rather than coming with a template. And that's part of, I think, the problem. It's so overwhelming, right? Where do you start? There's so many languages. We don't quite have the money to do a language access plan of 100 pages. So let's move and do incremental steps. So strategic doing is about what is your vision here and what can you do in the next 30 days that will make a difference for your constituents, like it will make it a little easier for your family. And you'll be surprised of what can be done that doesn't have really necessarily this high cost by just thinking a little bit more strategically about it. We have launched last week a committee for language access community engagement. And this committee will be behind the development of activities of awareness and education in the community where the larger events will happen. And we're creating an online community hub where, I don't know right now if you've ever had to find an interpreter, but my guess is you sort of ask who you know, like, who do you know? I need a nation Creole, who do you know, right? Or whatever might be the language. Well, and in this situation, you also don't know what the qualifications are, but also there's a bit of a problem where you have all this lack of transparency. You also have opportunities for people not to be treated fairly. So people who are trained, bilingual individuals, and for those whose qualifications we can verify, and if they give consent, they will be put into an interpreter roster that will be open for the community to access. So if you need an interpreter for that language, you'll be able to find it. So this is the things that we're working on. And we just launched in March of this year. So working very, very hard. So briefly, a couple of concepts here. Language access is the ability of individuals to obtain services, right? That's what it is. I, as an individual, can access services regardless of the language I speak. That's what language access is. At Language Access Lab, we're concerned with community language access. Right? You can think about language access happening in many different sectors, from business to conferences and all that. We're really concerned what happens in healthcare, schools, social services, and government. That's community language access. And so I'll just give you this one little taste of engagement activity, because there's many. And if you can just turn, I know for the online stuff, attendees, you can think of this yourself. So let's do a moment first of self-reflection. And the question is, have you ever faced yourself, or have you ever witnessed a language barrier in accessing services? So have you ever seen somebody having a barrier, or have you experienced it yourself? You traveled, right? Or you come and English wasn't your first language. I learned English in my 20s, so I have plenty of examples. But how did that experience of a barrier impact you, if that's about you? Or how did that impact the experience of others? So just give you a moment to self-reflect on this question. And, the heart. Good, thank you, Jackie. Saw the heart. So normally in these presentations, we do a lot of back and forth and pair sharing. But I think everybody can probably think of a situation. Is there anybody here that would like to share if there's something in particular that they have experienced or seen?
I work with a lot of people from the Karen ethnic group. A big wave of them came in 2008, and my church came alongside them, and we had the Karen Christian Fellowship. So from that time till now, I've been working with people whose language I can't even, I mean, I can fumble through in Spanish. I can understand a word or two of French or whatever, but Burmese, Korean, whatever. And so it's been often a challenge. And like you said, my go-to is I gotta call James. Well, James may be working, when I have this need here. So fortunately, I know a lot of people now that I can call on, but, and most of, most of the friends I've made speak English now, but so that's been a consistent thing. And I took my godson's mother to the hospital once, and I think it was Parkview, they wheeled in this thing and they dialed in an interpreter, and I was like, man, I wish we could have that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Laura. Yeah, as part of this adventure that I'm on right now, I get to speak to a lot of people, and I'm making a mental collection of anecdotal stories, and they're quite a bit, and some are shocking and some are like, this is not a surprise, but there are local districts not too far from where we are right now, where school districts where children miss school on a regular basis. And you know what they found out? It's because they're interpreting for their parents. Okay. This is healthcare, legal, mortgages. So not a lot of time here, but I think part of what we want to do is recognize the diversity of Allen County, right? So we look at, first of all, one way of looking at the languages is simply what languages are spoken at home. So we have over 20,000 Spanish speakers, according to the census. We have about 13% of Allen County speaking a language other than English at home. We're talking a lot of people, right? And the census is not a great place to find detailed information on languages because they group in like other Asian and Pacific island languages. So what Lauren was saying about Karen is not necessarily pinpointed in the census, but we know that the Burmese languages, the many dialects and ethnic communities from Myanmar, those are the languages that right after Spanish, right, we have in this community. And one of the things we want to also talk about is that, as you know, because you're professional, the Myanmar community, the Burma community, speak a variety of languages, where Burma, or Burmese, the official language, is spoken by about half of them, and then about the rest are speaking about 7 other different languages. So we have Karen, Chin, Kachin, Mon. And so when you invite somebody in your services and they are Burmese, you have to actually make sure you know what language they speak, right?
I've always wondered, seeing Fort Wayne Community Schools, Burmese flyers, which of the many dialects did they choose, right? I mean,
probably Burmese.
So
probably the
Burmese?
standard Burmese.
Okay, yeah.
So the other concept, so we talked about language access, being able to receive services. And the other concept that is important in this field, and that's probably the last one I'll define here, is LEP, which stands for Limited English Proficient. Okay, Limited English Proficient. Limited English Proficient means it's a person who has a limited ability to read, write, and speak or understand English. And so the main point here is that this is not a person who doesn't speak English, right? But it's a person who has a limited ability to speak and understand English. And this is important because by law, if you are receiving federal funding, you're needing to provide language access to those who are limited English proficient. So if you are a person who says, maybe, I can go buy groceries. I don't have a problem there. I'm not really limited in my ability to access that service, or, maybe something else that's pretty simple and repetitive. You might find yourself in a new environment when you go to court or you go to a doctor's appointment where you lack vocabulary completely because you just haven't had the opportunity to learn that vocabulary. I mean, vocabulary is hard for everybody, no matter the language you speak, right? So we also advertise and talk a lot about use plain language in your services, no matter who you talk to. But certainly somebody can be proficient enough to access services today, but then not able to access your services tomorrow. So limited English proficient.
That's the stuff that gives me anxiety, like being in a healthcare environment with someone who has LEP and they go up and like check in on why they're waiting so long or whatever. And the person behind the desk, because they speak a few words of English, makes this huge assumption and speaks very quickly in technical, like inside jargon. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, did that person just understand what was said to them? Probably not.
Thank you. On that point, so it's another way of looking at statistics very briefly is recognizing that while many people may speak a language other than English at home, definitely we have a substantial Spanish-speaking community, not everybody will be limited English proficient, right? So this, I talk a little bit about that, in my presentations when I show the red line are limited English proficient, people who don't know English very well. The blue line are those who speak a language other than English at home. So for communities, this is important because yes, Spanish is the most, priority language, I guess, for this region, right? It's a top language for sure. But at the same time, the Spanish-speaking community has been here for such a long time, and they have been learning English at such a rate that while they speak Spanish at home, a larger portion of that population also speaks English fluently. And so they don't need necessarily translation interpretation services. For the Asiatic, Burma and Myanmar community, it's not so true. So we have a larger proportion of Burmese residents who actually haven't learned English at the same rate. They haven't been here as long, as Laura said, 2008, it's not that long ago, right? So how long does it take for a child to learn English, a child? By statistics of Hawaiian community schools, it takes 5 years for a child to learn English. This is a young brain in school full time. His parents, who are not as young and not able to take classes full time, and they're under a lot of stress because they're providing in a new environment and surviving what they have escaped. That is going to take longer. So that's why.
Can I ask a question about this slide, Irena?
Yeah.
So you have the blue of like speaking another language than English. Then you have the red, limited English proficiency. What's the rest of it? Like, are those folks are speaking English well or not speaking English at all?
So they're speaking English well. So I speak Italian at home all the time. But fortunately for now, I'm pretty proficient. So I haven't, and in this point in time, I don't need interpretation services, although I reserve the right to ask for it.
Yes.
But yeah, so that would be me. The rest would be the person that has been here long or has been able to, or that's come and already knew English, like James, probably I know.
James Shui.
Right, James Shui is a genius, right?
Yes.
So I also don't have much time to go into the detail, but we talk about training and skills. It takes training and skills to work as interpreter and to work as translator. You could be an excellent interpreter, but be a really poor writer and translator. Those are two different things. So we covered a little bit about that in my presentations, the difference between translation and interpretation. It's very important. Translation is written and interpretation is oral. So we don't have time to go through this. Or we discuss also in the presentation kind of the challenges that you might have encountered in your organization. But let's talk about this, why it matters. Again, Language access is linked to engagement in the community. So we particularly talk about if you have limited language access or barriers, there are three things that we need to talk about. Reduce engagement. You have you have a portion of your city that is not engaged in the same activities. You have, of course, limited access to services, and many times these communities are also very isolated. So yes, there's the real world consequences and all the bad stuff that can happen, the errors, but also let's talk about the lack of engagement, the isolation. And I remember specifically talking to many community members that would tell me, I'm from Algeria, I don't speak English, there's nobody like me here, and I don't know where to go for services. So in the community context, language access matters across all sectors. In healthcare, there is a little bit more of an awareness about the importance of language access, but certainly it's not where it needs to be. But it's certainly organizations and larger, organizations like IU are working towards implementing language access, right? Or Parkview, they're working towards increasing the language access, and we're not where we need to be yet. But effective communication in healthcare is crucial for quality care. It is crucial for patients to be feeling empowered to make decisions. And as a person who has been affected by having to make some very critical decisions in healthcare, I cannot imagine having to go through what I have gone through and not, understand the language. The risks that we touch on in our presentations are primarily three risks. One, I mentioned Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as well as ADA, the Disability Act. They are laws that apply to a lot of organizations. So if you receive federal funding, you have an obligation to provide language access. And the how I cover in the second presentation, and I'm happy to chat with anybody at any point. So first of all, there's the legal reasons. It is still the law. So we're under a lot of pressure in this environment. Never thought I would launch a language access nonprofit in this moment in history, but here we are. So it is still the law. Also, it is the right thing to do. Ethical considerations, right? So you want to build trust, you want to include, you want to provide quality of care. That is the right thing to do. And then there's real world consequences, things that can go wrong, like many case studies that tell us that things can go wrong. If we just stay on the healthcare here, medical errors in patient harm, delayed or compromised care, negative outcomes for the patients, reduced satisfaction for patients, or increased anxiety and barriers to mental health care. I also like to turn this around. So what if you become that provider that is a champion of language access, right? So let's turn it around, because I want to create some positivity. So then your opportunity is to reduce medical errors. It is to improve care. It is to improve the outcomes of your patients and create a better relationship with your patients. So let's think about it as an opportunity, because this is very sad. At this point, I would ask you for your reflection, and you can think about in your organization and your day-to-day, what are the risks, right? What are the risks of something going wrong? What does it look like for your organization? You thought about the three: legal, the right thing to do, and the real world consequences. So the last thing I'll talk about is this training. Training matters. And so I will not do this. So when we train interpreters on protocols, just to give you an idea, we do a lot of different things. We talk about, first of all, we test the language proficiency, right? How many times I made the mistake as an employer to hire somebody because they said they spoke a language, and then, maybe not, or maybe they spoke such great English and I assumed that their Spanish would be great. So there's a good way of us checking through an accredited national test, the proficiency of interpreters in both the source language and the target language, English and the other languages that they speak. We also talk about the ethics, because like any profession, there's a code of ethics for interpreters, from confidentiality to professional development, and there's 9 principles. We talk about where to stand, how to introduce yourself professionally, how to do a consecutive mode, how to pause, how to raise your hand if you have a question, how to strategically mediate if there's a cultural misunderstanding. And these are things that you just don't learn out in the field, you have to be trained on. And that is the difference between a qualified and non-qualified interpreter. We talked about this. So what we try to advocate for is to, especially for vital services, your most critical services, start thinking about that. Avoid family members and children. Right? So why would asking a child to interpret not be ideal? What would be the problem with that?
They may not understand what they're even interpreting or know what it is that they're supposed to be helping with, or they may misunderstand something and tell them something wrong.
I have a 12-year-old and I don't want her to interpret.
They're gonna be hearing adult things that they shouldn't be hearing as a child.
They're exposed to things, they don't have the abilities and the skills.
They purposely leave something out.
Yeah. I remember when I was working in Amani, we had a DCS contract, and many times one of the issues was this issue of power between the child and the parent, when the child was constantly the one learning and knowing English, and the parent was depending on the child, and those relationships were really difficult. So there is a difference, and I won't go in detail between a qualified and a certified interpreter. But here locally, the news is, if you hear somebody being certified, most likely they're not. I can explain to you why. But taking a training qualify you, but you're not certified. There's a national certification exam. You're qualified to take that, but you're not technically certified. Legal interpreters can be certified by the state or the federal government. Medical interpreters, there's 3 different entities that are nationwide certified. So, details. Most importantly, I like to bring this notion that if language access is not just the job of the one champion in your organization, not just the job of the one bilingual person in your program, but it's actually seen as a shared responsibility and opportunity for your organization and program, then we all have a role to play in language access. So from the administrators that can create protocols, can create planning and allocate resources, to anybody that works directly with residents that can, they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing or not when somebody doesn't speak English fluently, to obviously the advocates. It is not just the job of the one bilingual person, it's a shared responsibility. Then you can start thinking about, what can I do? What can I do, right? You have protocols for a lot of different things in your organization. What are your protocols for language access? So this would be a moment of reflection. And then to wrap it up, good. To wrap it up, just to give you a little teaser of a language access plan. Has anybody heard of language access planning, or you have one? So a language access plan is the framework that is used by an organization to define how they're going to provide that access. Okay, so we talked about language access being the ability, how you're going to ensure equitable communication with people who are not proficient or limited proficiency, have limited proficiency. It doesn't say translation interpretation. It really, and the reason why we're called the Language Access Lab, literally, is that we're more preoccupied with people doing something than with defining exactly what they have to do from 1 to 10. But a language access plan is a framework, and there's multiple steps and questions that we cover in our other presentation, which I don't have time to give right now, on the, things from how are you going to inform your clients that you have language access? How are you going to train your staff? How are you going to define the protocols? and more. So I think I'm getting to that. So we covered a few foundational concepts, talked about LEP, limited English proficiency, and I talked about language access in general, the importance of working with qualified interpreters. If you have a bilingual staff member that is not trained or hasn't been checked for proficiency, you're not alone. That's a lot that happens all the time. But there's something called qualified bilingual staff programs. And that's something that we help with, which is basically developing a program where your staff members can be tested for proficiency, they can be trained on protocols, but also recognized, right? So if you have a skill that is saving your organization money, you're connecting clients because of that skill, you should be recognized in community outside of Fort Wayne. This happens all the time, not so much here yet, where there's a pay differential, for instance, for skills. So we can talk about that. Happy to be here and just, let's do this together, right? Let's make this a shared conversation on language access. Thank you.
We have time if anybody has any
Okay.
questions.
Questions?
I think this is awesome. I love it. Yeah, I love I think so many organizations in our community do need to step back and take a look and create a plan for how the whole organization could, really serve the variety of communities out there and do it well. I think it's so easy to say, okay, we have a bilingual staff member, we're good. No, there's so much more to it. And it empowers people in those organizations to feel like they have a role too, which is great. We all do play a role in making our organizations more accessible.
Irene, so, kind of like Colleen said, organizations, many of us have a bilingual person on staff or whatever.
Yeah.
What are the holes that you see in that? What's missing with that approach?
Yeah, so I would say a couple of different things. You may not have yet a protocol, like if somebody calls your organization and they speak the language, who's gonna, talk to them? If you don't know what language they speak, how are you going to identify the language? I think I was talking to Jamie the other day where I just came back from Kansas City, for instance, and I love it. I still continue to travel nationwide and audit different language access practices in Kansas City. Give an example. In the Citizen Square, whatever they call it, the City Hall, they have a whole kiosk of little business cards, small like this. And they all say, I speak, and then the language, in their language, okay? So this is an example of something that could really make, it's not really high cost, but the resident that comes into City Hall, they can say, io parlo italiano, and they take it, and then they can go to whichever door in that building and receive services. They can take that card. I mean, the cost of that is what? We all have business cards, right? But you give a message to the person who enters right away in the lobby, and it's easier for them. They don't have to like fumble through trying to explain they don't speak English when they come through your doors. So that's one way, right? So protocols for how you're going to provide, how you're going to identify the need, how you're going to, if you have the person that speaks the second language, what about the other languages? Of course, we look at different assets. So for us, if you already track satisfaction for your clientele or guests or your services, how are you tracking that for individuals that are limited English proficient? And are you tracking the quality of that interpretation translation services? And then one more thing I'll say, a lot of organizations are spending a lot of money, and I've seen it because I worked in city government too. These long translations, they're awesome, they should happen. But the problem is that these translations are often then posted on a very obscure website. And then there's maybe money that is not effectively used. So one of the things I talk about is what is your plan to outreach to those communities to let them know that you have that translation, which you know here all the time.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, how do you feel about like the apps and stuff that come on our phones that you can use to translate? What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
those?
so I'm trying to stay to keep up to date. And that is also the reason why it's called the lab. I believe in hybrid models, which means it served me well when I was a CEO in a nonprofit or other, in other roles where I don't just have one thing. So what happens if that person is not available? What is your plan B? Who are you gonna call? So technology is very helpful in different things. What I have learned so far is that technology can be very effective for frequently used languages such as Spanish, Portuguese, French, I don't know, Italian somewhat, those more common languages. But when it comes to less frequent languages, such as the ones that we have in large numbers in this community, they won't be as effective. They will make
Can I give a
more mistakes.
somewhat humorous, but also very sad
then,
example
yeah.
recently? So I was at a friend's house, works for the Allen County Public Library. They used, I don't know why they were rushed, for whatever reason, they decided to use like Google Translate or something online for a big welcome sign in many languages. And my friend was in the downtown library working, and someone who was Burmese came up and was like looking at the sign with a face like, whoa. And my friend says, yeah, you're looking, what's going on there? And he's like, who translated your sign? And this guy also spoke English, and he said, well, I think we ended up using Google Translate. We were in a rush. And my friend says, why? What does it really say? Well, first he said, what is it supposed to say? And he said, welcome to blah, blah, whatever, or something positive. And so my friend says, well, he says, that's not what it, well, the Burmese says, it's not what it says. And my friend says, what does it say? And he says, essentially something like, F you, like something horrible, like you would never
Quite the
want on
opposite.
a,
Well,
yeah, quite the opposite, like get that sign down immediately, so yeah. There can be a lot of
That's the other thing we talk about is, how do you make sure the transition is accurate? So you have one vendor, how do you partner with that organization so they can review
Right.
the translation? Or the other thing, do you design your programs, understanding what audiences you're gonna work with? Like the actual design of the program is a whole other, that making sure that you are sensitive.
I have a quick comment and then a question. So what Ms. Tubbs was asking too, I just have, I go back to thinking about how important this is just for like our community. I think in businesses and organizations, especially those that have several different departments, people work in silos. And so sometimes we don't always know the patient experience from top to bottom. And so opportunities can get missed there. And even I think about one example is that we, just because of, whoever, my ignorance, our ignorance, we had assumed that a patient had spoken Burmese. And so of course we have a Burmese interpreter on staff. And then we later found out, and I don't even know how long they were providing interpretation for this patient, but we found out they don't speak Burmese. They don't speak Zo, which is what our interpreter does speak. I think they spoke Chin. So they couldn't even understand. And so I think sometimes we make assumptions about, okay, well, we have a bilingual staff member and they speak Spanish, but if somebody speaks a Mexican dialect, they may not understand the interpreter.
And Portuguese.
And in that situation, you're already vulnerable. How empowered do you feel to speak up in that moment? It should be, the onus should be on the organizations to provide that quality, in my opinion. And then question, so do you do the organization presentations is great. Do you do audits for different organizations to kind of give them a score?
That would be a fun project to work for in the future. Right now, I would say the closest to that is coaching. So like sitting down and with you. So when I talk about the strategic doing, part of the strategic doing and the language access planning is asset mapping. So show me what you're doing right now, what staff members you have, the financial, but also the protocols, the metrics for compliance and, collaboration. So That is the closest I can say, asset mapping and the coaching rather than a formal audit. Gosh, that would be another fun thing to do. Yeah.
We had a question online.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Sheila. Hi, Sheila.
Hey, how you doing? I had a couple of questions. Number one, will we have access to the slides?
We are, I'm not at a point where I can share them yet, because I am trying to be very protective of this content. We are a startup nonprofit, and the only thing we have going for us right now is this really, really high quality content. So if you need access to it, or if you want me to come and talk to somebody, please find me, and I'll be, I think we just exchanged emails recently, so I'll be happy to, but we are underfunded by all possible means, so I'm trying to protect that.
Okay. And then the data that you showed, is that published somewhere or?
So I have multiple sources, but if you go to American Community Survey and the census, that's where that comes from. And other good sources are the school system. So if you go to, everybody knows Emily's Frog's parents.
But she left FWCS,
Yeah,
so she's
she's
Allen
East
now.
Allen, and so she just gave me the East Allen. Maybe, yeah, I think it's public, but you have to ask it, so you can get the language is spoken by the district. It's very good information to know.
Okay, my last question. We're a community-based organization. We're a church also. We are transitioning into highlighting being a resilience hub. How do this program work, and what is the age of being an interpreter or a translator? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great, thank you. So the interpreter training programs are meant to be for individuals who are 18 and older. There's an industry that kind of leads and guides us, and I say, ideally somebody who has a high school diploma. I'm not so concerned about that because maybe you come from a country or a place where you haven't had the opportunity, but 18 and older, that's a good question. Does that answer your question, Sheila? Baby. All right, thank you. I know I'm taking a little more time. I'm just gonna stop sharing. Oh, I did have the QR code. I forgot again about it. If you're still with me and you don't mind, for the same grants that I told you about, support us. You have a QR code for a small, very brief evaluation. We ask questions, they're really like 2 or 3 questions, very short, I promise. That's.
Is that the same?
And if you turn it around,
it's different.
oh, it's different. So if you have
Here.
one, there,
You
just
flip it
there.
over. Yeah.
Oh, that's the only way. Oh. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for sharing that. I love when we have a in-depth conversation around a very important topic, because we typically, if we got questions, we want to hear the whole thing. Like I come in, when I ask somebody, I'm like, no, we got a limited time sometimes, but it's like, go ahead, just take the floor, please, because it's always important that we get the information. Because as we understand, when it comes to language and all the services that we provide, I mean, they're coming to us for a specific service. And so what needs is it just one more barrier when they can't even understand what's going on. And so how important it is that we have services that help them to overcome that barrier, so that we can get towards the barrier that they maybe even coming to see us about. And so we want to take the moment now to hear some updates, what's happening in your organizations and with us. And so Health Visions, Allen County Health Equity Coalition, is having our annual celebration. This is when we come together in December and we soiree, yes, that's right. We bringing back the soiree. For that correct verbiage, the soiree. And so this year we will have it on December. Oh, I don't have the date on it. December 19th from 12 to 2 p.m. at the downtown library. And so please join us, we'll get some more information out to you so you can RSVP. And let us know that you can come and have this soiree. We're gonna have some good food, we're gonna have some great time to connect and just celebrate the year of Allen County Health Equity Coalition. And with that, I wanna turn it over to my team. Team, got anything y'all wanna announce on? Talk about?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank, I don't know who all that's hearing my voice was at our breakfast last Friday, but we want to thank you for attending. We did a photo auction this year. It was a new endeavor and it was successful. We're hoping it's the start of something. We did have 2 photos that didn't sell in the auction, just I think people were new to the idea and maybe weren't prepared for it. And we do have those photos here. If you, I don't know, he can maybe scan the camera over there and for a minimum donation to Health Visions of $50, you can take one or the other or both of those home with you or to your office.
Can you scan?
It's
Right, y'all can see me and say.
One is by Kelsey
Your
Martin
own
and one
camera.
is by Anthony Shelton.
Both very beautiful.
Yeah.
And I would be able to provide the artist statement, the name of the piece, etc.
The $50 donation and it's yours, is that what you're saying? Dang, that's pretty good.
Or more.
Or more.
$5 or more.
Okay.
Or more. Thank you so much, Laura. Yes. If y'all interested, please let us know. These folks in person, they got first dibs. So y'all, I told you, y'all should have been here. And so I think that's all for Health Visions. Any community? We got.
Yes.
Go ahead. It's on you already.
Deep classes, if you're interested, just, reach out to Cassius or myself, and we're available to do them.
Which class?
Deep, diabetes education empowerment program.
All right.
5 or more people.
Anyone else in the room have anything to share?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I mentioned in August that Stop Suicide was losing its funding, September 30th, and it was true, which is very sad. We're working on writing grants, but what was cool is right at the end of September, we finally got our crisis, Northeast Indiana Crisis Services sheet finalized. So I printed 1,000 of them, so I can get them across the community. They're organized by the 3 pillars of crisis services that we have, and then describes each of those services and who provides them. And then on the back, it has mental health providers information, some peer support resources, as well as some apps and national resources. So I will send this to Cassius for the electronic copy, but next time I come, well, you guys are welcome to have the copies I have here, but next time I come, I can also bring extra, or I'll try and bring them to every meeting so that you all can have them, because I get a lot of questions of where do I go with someone in crisis? And this sort of summarizes regionally what we have at our fingertips, and hopefully avoids going straight to an inpatient facility, because we have lots of options other than going straight to a psychiatric facility if you feel like you want other options. And then the Action Over Silence and Veteran Suicide group, we have little posters about our project that say quiet struggles need loud support. And along with those, I think I brought them, I didn't, I guess, I had some postcards, but we also have some bookmarks. And what we'd like to do with everybody is we would love to come to a presentation, like 15 minutes, an organization about if you are serving service members, veterans, their family members, or their caregivers, maybe you're caregivers to any of those 3 groups. We'd love for you to have our postcards out so people can grab them as they need, or have this posted in a waiting room or a public area. And we have free resources, free peer support, free training. Everything we do is free. Free veteran to veteran gun storage. So if there's a veteran or service member who's having a difficult time, we have a veteran in town that we paid for him to get a giant safe and no questions asked. We can store your guns while you're going through a hard moment, and then have them back, no questions asked. So, we'd love to come and see you guys, and I will also send this to Cassius to get it out, and so that way you know who to contact and where.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Colleen.
I'll give an update.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. So, we are having our, safe trick or treating event. Bowen Health is having their safe trick or treating event tomorrow night from 5 to 7 p.m. It is going to be, on Oakdale. We are blocking off Oakdale between Southside and Rudisell Plaza parking. And we're gonna have a ton of candy and, free pizza and a lot of activities for the families. So if you know of anybody who could benefit or just want to, looking for something to do with their family, that's kind of around the holiday theme, then please come out. Everything is free.
Do you have a social media post that we can all then post on our pages?
I have a flyer and I'm not sure about all.
Like a PNG of it or something? I can
think-
convert it if you.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I-
cool.
Yeah, and I'll share that. Thank you.
It's got a creative name, doesn't it?
No.
Yeah.
It's like safe trick or treating event.
Oh, okay, I thought it was like
That's
something
not
doesn't
very
have to
creative.
be scary.
Oh, no, that's
Okay,
not us.
That's not you guys,
That's not
okay,
us.
sorry.
Yeah, but, yeah, so 5 to 7, please come out. There's gonna be like a petting zoo, a balloon artist, a magician, like we have a lot of fun stuff for the families and kids. And then also, I just want to share that Bowen Health is still serving all individuals regardless of their ability to pay. We have seen a decline in those who have, or not a decline, but we have gotten some more responses from our patients that they are, some of them are losing Medicaid. And so we are working with them to make sure that we put the proper things in place for them to continue care. So I just wanted to put that out there. We are still very much seeing patients, regardless of their insurance status. We did hire a new pediatrician and his name is Dr. Tanazi. He is fabulous. He is open for new patients. So if you have, anybody who is looking for a pediatrician, he is wide open right now. And then we just hired a psychiatric, doctor who will be working out of the Rudisell office. She is not yet open. This is her 3rd day. So, she will be open soon. And so I'll keep everybody posted on that.
That's exciting.
Yes.
That's hard to get a psychiatrist.
Yes, absolutely. So we are very excited and she is amazing. Her name is Sakura. And then I am gonna leave some cards here. I am certified QPR instructor and youth mental health first aid trained. And so if any of you and your organizations are interested in having those trainings, please reach out. I'm leaving my card here. And I'm happy to schedule that with you, you know, based on availability. So that's it.
Right on, right on. Right on. I saw a hand online, and I know you posted it as well, Michelle, if you want to come off mute and share what you posted.
Yeah. Healthy Temple Sunday, a day of faith, care, and connection. It's going to be at Pilgrim Baptist Church on Sunday, November the 9th. It's immediately following our morning worship service. If you're not on my list, I would love for you to have a table and share information. We know it's sensitive times right now. Someone spoke about Medicaid, Medicare. So we just want to make sure that folks have the resources they need. I think a couple of you folks need to have a table. So please reach out to me and let me know. Thank you.
Right on, right on. Well, thank you, thank you. If there's no other news or announcements, I want to make sure that y'all do the surveys in the room, please, those individuals in the room. Yes. And so we'll also try to get that to you online, but if there's no other news or announcements, everyone enjoy the rest of your day and we'll send you some more updates and all the information that was shared today. Peace.
Peace.